Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, a hearty good morning to all of you, or afternoon, whenever you're checking out the show. This is the JP Peterson Show. We do 2 hours each and every day of Tampa Bay-centric sports, and who knows what else we're going to get into today. Nick Geddes from On3 Sports joining me this morning. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to stay inside. It is freezing outside this morning. I don't know what it's like up there in Orlando where you are, but I am appalled at the fact that we are approaching March. And I woke up this morning and it was 38 degrees outside.
Was it 38? Wow.
Over here, it's 38 degrees in the morning.
Wow. Yeah, I know it's been in the low 40s. I love it. Dropping the kids off at school this morning. It's a nice little brisk in the air. Just don't forget, folks, within weeks, it's going to be 90 with 90% humidity.
Right.
So enjoy it. Just put your sweaters on. Enjoy it. Take the dogs love it. The Tally's all energized, man. She can't wait to get out and get after that ball when it's cold. She absolutely loves it. So
I'm also laughing at all the are you an AT&T customer?
I am not. I saw that though. A lot of the,
My
they've
wife
been down for a while.
Casey
right?
texted me at like 6:30 in the morning when she got in her car this morning to go to work. She's like, my phone's not working. It says something SOS on it or whatever. And then I saw it on the news that it's a nationwide outage. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't have AT&T in 2024, folks. You should not have AT&T.
Why not? Isn't it one of the best mobile companies out there?
I'm Team Verizon all the way. Never steered me
Verizon.
wrong. Never steered me wrong. And now the entire
Yeah,
nation
but you
got
pay
an
like
outage on
10.
it.
You pay like 10 times more than everybody else. What's your bill a month?
I couldn't even tell you, to be honest.
Oh my God. You're still on mom's plan? Mom's still paying for your cell phone,
Mom is
right?
not. No. I don't look at the price of the bills. I just pay them. I just let them go.
What? You don't look at the price of your bills? Wow.
I don't want to know. I've allotted the amount that I need, and I don't look at them any further.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I got Spectrum, and I had Verizon, and Verizon used to was like, 5 years ago was the OG. I mean, it was the best, and it was by far better than everybody else. And just in terms of coverage. So I'll spend the extra money. And then it just went to crap. It went to crap. I think they started selling off their towers to other companies and whatever, but it just went to crap. It was worse than anything in South Tampa. And then I went to T-Mobile. That sucked. And then I just went to Spectrum just because it was like, it's $30 a month. I mean, you just can't beat that. So $30 a month. It's fine. It works. It works as bad as the rest of them. Let's just put it that way. It works as bad as the rest of them. I don't think there's no question about it that it has gone downhill from about 5 to 8 years ago. When you were on Verizon, you could go anywhere and it was clear as a bell. You never dropped a call. It was great. Now it's like awful.
I feel like the more technology we advance,
the worse it gets.
The worse it gets.
Yeah,
That's
question about it. And if you've seen the what's the name of that End of the World series that they have on, anyway, they talk where it's coming. It's not going to be nuclear war. It's going to be shutting down the internet, shutting down cell phones, all communication, because everything now is run off Wi-Fi technology. Almost everything is done from Wi-Fi technology or some type of internet cable thing. Everything is run by that. And once that gets interrupted and shut down, it's way too fragile. I mean, start looking for backups. Like get a ham radio. Get one of those shortwave radio. You're gonna need ears on your television set. We're going back to analog everything. Watch when it all breaks down.
Can you tell that we're in like the dead zone period of sports right now?
Yes, we are.
We lead off the show
we're talking about end of world scenarios. It's coming. My cell phone doesn't work. What do I do? It's true. I mean, just try to go a day and a half without using your cell phone. You can't do it.
I'm wondering how people survived I'm wondering how people survived having to use FM radio this morning. So many people are so used to plugging in the Bluetooth machine. Right. And I saw people complaining. They're like, I had to actually turn on my FM radio today.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, we have some problems.
Yeah, Rick says he's right here. We get people chiming in. Spectrum uses Verizon towers for half the price. Suckers. That's you. Thank you for subsidizing my cheap Spectrum. Appreciate that, Verizon customer spending $100 a month, but you keep not looking at your bill money bags. That's just fine. All right. Anyway, let's get into some other actual stuff here. Set up the show a little bit. Brian Bradley's going to join us from the morning skate today, 11 o'clock, and Corey Long will join us at 11:30. The Lightning get back at it against the Caps tonight. Ovi and company are in town. They have not had a great year coming off a win for them, but it is ESPN hockey night, so the Bolts will be on at 7 o'clock on ESPN, the mothership, and we'll get the full treatment from that. I wonder who's doing the game tonight. I wonder if it's Bucci.
Probably Bucci. It usually
Bucci?
always is Bucci. I feel like we've been on ESPN a lot more this year, though.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, I think the Lightning are a nice draw, or are they not? That's a nice, Kucherov versus Ovechkin. That's a great matchup. That should bring some eyeballs.
As it did, a few years ago.
Ovechkin's
playing a little better. He's playing a little better lately.
Yeah, Ovi's not, hasn't had the goals this year. His point numbers aren't terrible, but he's just not filling up the net like he used to. But Kucherov certainly is. And for the Lightning, this is points are just tantamount right now. You've got to get 2 points here, especially after dropping that one to Ottawa. That's 2 home games. You got 0 points. You've been outscored 13-4 in the last 2 home games. That's not good. And I said it yesterday. It feels like this Lightning team is a little stale. Just say, it's just a little stale. Is that a good word?
Yeah,
you think?
I would say that's a good word.
Yeah, it feels like, they've got the talent. I still think they have one of the best 4 or 5 cores in the game with Vasi and Hedman, Stamkos and Kuch and Point. I think that's as good as there is in a game for the most part. But it takes, as it takes much more than that to become elite and go deep into the playoffs. You've got to have depth in your scoring. You've got to have, they've got to be better defensively. You're not going anywhere when you're in the low 20s in defensive metrics. You're just not.
I'll draw this comparison, and I know cover your ears, Lightning fans. The Lightning, I think, as they're constructed at the moment, I'll throw Hagel, by the way, in that top core because I think he's been really good this year.
Yep.
So that's 6 guys. They almost kind of remind me of some of these Toronto teams the last few years right now.
Ooh, you said the T word.
I did.
Ooh.
I hate to go there.
Wow.
But, you talk about high-end scoring at the top, and then not the greatest middle 6 in the world or the bottom 6 that's not really carrying their weight.
Right.
And then poor defense. And let's be honest, up until
comparison.
And up until recently, and he's had a setback here his last couple outings, Vasilevsky hasn't been Vasilevsky. So you've had questionable goaltending, I think, for majority of the season. I think that's just a fair thing to say.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, the first 10 games were not Vasi. The next 10 to 13 games were good. The last 2 have not been great.
Right. But if you include the beginning of the year when they had to ride with Johansson and all that, the goaltending hasn't been as good as we've seen it in recent years. We'll put it that way. So they kind of remind me of some of those Toronto teams at the moment. And I don't really like that. There's a lot of guys that I don't think are pulling their weight. We talked to Chief, last week, and he said that the Lightning really don't have a number 2 center. I couldn't agree with that anymore. I love Tony Cirelli, the things he does, the little things during the game, but he just doesn't score enough to be a number 2 center.
He seems more like a 3 center, right?
Right. He just doesn't drive play like that. So that's why I've been saying it's like, the trade deadline's coming up. I know everybody wants defense and all that kind of stuff, and I think you have enough at play to get both. I think they need another guy they could slot there on their second line for some more scoring help as well. So,
and is that guy? Did we see him the other night, Tarasenko?
Ottawa? I'm all for it. I told you the number. He's under a $5 million contract a year, which obviously they're not going to have to pay the bulk of that now since it's late in the season, and he's going to be a free agent anyway. So it's just a rental. I guess it just depends what the price is. What I don't like is this is a seller's market. I don't know if you recall the trade that went down a couple weeks ago. Montreal traded Sean Monahan to Winnipeg and got a first-round pick back for him. Sean Monahan. Okay. They got a first-round pick back for them. Oh, and by the way, the Lightning didn't exactly help themselves out either when it comes to the market because of the trade they made with Tanner Jeannot. So it scares me a little bit of how many more assets the Lightning are willing to give up for this core. But I just think if you're trying to continue to do that, and of course they are, I don't think as currently constructed they have enough pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as I said yesterday, I think more than anything, they need a guy that's going to come in here and stir the pot a little bit and bring some emotion and fire. You heard Cooper after the game against Ottawa just said we just kind of went flat. We owned the first 10 minutes of the game, they score and we went flat. And that's reminiscent of the early season Lightning. We thought we dusted that off. We were done with that, and they go on the run right before the break. And move up into a solid third place in the division, and things are looking good. And then you just 2 games in a row, that's all it took in a stretch of 48 hours. You've gone from feeling really good about your club to, oh my God, what is this?
Right.
And and that's just one. And those 9-2 things, they're going to happen every once in a while. But you want to just kind of throw them away, but you can't, because there's symptoms there, right? I mean, there's a reason you gave up 9 goals in a row. It's not because you're a horrible team. It's because you've got some chinks in the armor and they were exposed, and that's a problem. And a lot of that is defensive coverage. And a lot of that is just, Florida just seemed to be much more confident than them. Like they came in here and just kind of owned our ass. And that's very unlightning. Like, they're the ones that have done the owning for the most part. So I think they need to get a little bit of swerve back. I think they need a little bit of, a little bit of juice. They need some juice. Bring in somebody that's not only going to, maybe light up the scoreboard a little bit, but give them some juice. And maybe that's a guy that comes in and helps them defensively. That could be another type of addition. But I think without question, this kind of dressing room, I think, has gone a little stale, and it needs a little bit of juice. And that's not it. I don't think that's an indictment of the team that's here. They're champions. They're 2-time champions. Their legacy is building still, right? But it's also rock solid. And nobody's taking anything away from this team. They are who they are. But if you want to be great, if you want to be dynastic, there might be a bold move that needs to be made to shake this club up a little bit. And I'm not sure what that is or who that is to bring in. And it's not John Cooper. I mean, shut up. No. It's not, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, because I mean, you see this happen, Barry Trotz gets fired a year after winning a cup. That's not happening here in Tampa Bay. There is no need for that. In fact, John Cooper is part of the answer. He's not the problem. He's one of the best in the game at playing the motivational game and getting his team in the mindset of where they need to be in terms of desperation. You don't win like he's won unless you're an expert at that, because that's so much of what hockey is, right? It's getting your team to play to that intensity level that they need to play. And they know what that is. They know what the recipe is. As I said the other day, they know what it is, and they know what's missing, and they know what they need because they've done it and they've been there. And Cooper and Breezeball will get together, and they'll, hopefully. The only problem is they don't have a whole lot of ammunition to go out and make, maybe that huge deal that they would like to make or could make. That's the problem. They don't have a lot of any first round picks left. Who can they trade from their stable of prospects? Do they have any great prospects? I mean, some of these young defensemen came up and showed some stuff. That's good. That makes their value go up. But I don't know if there's, teams are just banging down the door to get somebody. I mean, do you think there's anybody on the team like that?
Not really. I mean, I think some of these guys, whether it's Chafee, Lilleberg, and a lot of the other guys have kind of come up and everything. I think they've surprised us a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they've been effective in their roles, but no, they're not top prospects or anything like that. And I don't know how much value those guys carry. We know that what they're working with from an ammunition standpoint in the draft is not, I mean, they're going to have to obviously offer picks that are down the line.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the alarming thing is it's like you listen to John Cooper after these games, and this was happening last year too. And it's happening this year as well, where sometimes it feels like he doesn't have the answer. Like that's the thing. Like sometimes it's like it is what it is. And like I hate to say that, but it almost feels like when he gives his answers, like he's perplexed sometimes. Like, they start off hot against Ottawa, right?
Yeah.
They came out of the gates, and I think they had like a 6-0 shot on goal, and they probably could have scored
6-1.
2.
Yep.
And it didn't happen. Then they give up the first, and he's like, it just kind of, like you said, it went flat. And it felt like the effort overall just kind of went flat. And that happens a lot. And that's the part that's alarming to me for a veteran group. And I know that we've talked about it's hard to stay focused during an 82 regular season when you've been to the mountaintop and you're an older crew and all those things. But I think as you get older with this core, and even though they're still really effective, I think the whole thing about, they're just going to turn it on in the playoffs and it's going to happen. I don't think that's as easy anymore.
Yeah.
I think some of these bad habits have more of a likelihood of carrying over into the playoffs when you get there. I mean, let's be real. This is still a team that last year we thought was going to carry over.
Yeah.
They had some good moments in that first round series against Toronto. Probably thought they were the better team, but they still didn't get out of it.
Yeah.
They still didn't get out of it. In the end of the day, that's all that matters. So,
yeah,
and I was looking at some of the names, and I don't know if you've seen this name. He's been pretty linked to the Lightning. Noah Hannafin, the defenseman from Calgary.
Yeah.
And again, if you're looking for like a typical just like Sergachev replacement, because he's more of an offensive guy, from what I understand, I guess he would fill the need there. But again, he's a guy that's on an expiring contract. And he's 27, so he's right in the prime of his career. He was a former top prospect, and this is a seller's market. I mean, are you comfortable just I don't think he's a guy that's going to transform your D or anything like that. And
No.
I don't think he's not a defensive D type guy either, and I think that's really what they need as well. So, I mean, there's just a lot of questions here of how much you really want to mortgage for these guys.
Right. Yeah. And if this is the season to do it, I don't know. Maybe just the fact that Sergachev is injured, you just kind of say, we're going to kind of eat this season. We don't have a lot to give up. We don't want to give up what we have to hopefully build for the future. They're just, this comes a time in a dynasty's reign where you start running out of resources because of the salary cap, and the salary cap's not going up commensurate to keep some of these guys. And the guys that you replaced, the Yanni Gords with aren't quite Yanni Gord.
Yeah, I was going to say what's really killing them too, of all those like cheap acquisitions they got in the offseason, Connor Sheary, I mean,
yeah, it's just not there.
I mean, he was supposed to kind of what I thought, not going to replace the level of Alex Killorn necessarily,
right?
But kind of be in that role where maybe he could play in your top six. He's played with star players before. Yeah. I know he's not doing that here, but 1 goal in 39 games. How about 34 shots on goal in 39 games? He had like 150 last year. He's just not even – he's nowhere near anything happening right now on the ice. So he's hurt them. But I'll say this. The next 4 games are going to be really telling because you got Washington tonight, the Islanders on Saturday, then a back-to-back with the Devils on Sunday.
That's huge. These 3 games are huge. Right. This next, 72 hours or whatever, next 3 games
and
are
then
huge.
Philly's right after that. And those those 4 teams are all the 4 teams that you're right now just in front of.
Yeah. 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 There's no time to hang your head. Cooper said this yesterday, I believe. He says, I think when you take a big picture of our last 20, I've been pretty happy with what's going on. You're not going to win every single game. The Florida game is a tough one. That one, you kind of just throw up your hands. Of all the games we played since we've been back, to me, that was a bit of a stinger, just because some of the things we pulled out of our game and giving those freebie rushes and chances reared its ugly head. And we haven't seen that in a few months, but it was prevalent. And that's what you saw. The 2 Joseph goals were, those are those careless passes, the turnovers. And, with Joseph and his speed, that's going to, turn up in the back of your net. And that's what we saw all the first part of the season. Every time you made a mistake, it was in the back of your net. Vasi normally will make one of those 2 saves, right? Keep you in the game. Just hasn't happened. So, it's not like we're sitting here and saying blowing up. You still have, again, a top 5 core in this league. And there's also, something else. The guys that are here need to play better. Like you talk about Sheary, you talk about some of these other guys, Nick Paul. These guys got to step up. They need to play better. They need to step up their games. They're capable of it. When's that going to happen? They just and that's part of it. Sheary needs to step up his game. Brian Engblom mentioned the other day that he thought he was a little bit more active on the ice in that game against Ottawa. Thought his game was pretty good. So maybe he's waking up a little bit, but whatever it is, it's time to go. Certainly Kucherov has been carrying this club the entire season, and it's time a lot of these guys stop watching him and get on it.
Right.
And you said the number, the second center. And maybe is this a time when you move Stamkos down to that second line to play center, and maybe Cirelli moves to the third line. maybe you switch it up in some way to get those guys going a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I would do. Some variation of Sorelli and, I think Nick Paul and maybe another grinder type guy. Like, I think they really could use like one of those grinder type third lines that still have some capabilities to put the buck in the back of the net.
Yeah, yeah.
But clearly, and again, it's hard to compare it to that team from 3 years ago because we'll just never see anything like that again. Let's just be completely honest. That was just a different time. But that third line was such a weapon, and I think that's where they're really struggling. I mean, but I also don't want to overact too much because, like, I've already, I feel like when you lose 2 games in the manner they have, I think it's easy to overreact, and maybe we are doing that a little bit. But let's remember, they had gone on a very hot stretch right before this. Mm-hmm. They had. In fact, we saw them play 2 of the best teams in the NHL, Boston, on the road, and then we saw them at home against Colorado, which were 2 of the best games that I think we've watched all season long. And the Lightning answered the bell in those ones. So don't want to overreact too much, but I just think it's fair to analyze the team at this point and how they stack up against some of these contenders in the East. And I just think they have, I think there's some realistic holes there.
No question about it. So we'll see tonight as they take on the Capitals in what's becoming some must-win games. I'd say they got to get at least 4 points out of these next 3. Maybe even 5 you'd like to see and really solidify themselves. And that's, they just got this. It's time. I mean, playoffs have started for the Lightning. It is playoff time. It's not even a push. It's like, you got to win. You got to win 3 out of 4 or you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. So we'll see what happens. Mr. Rays, I got to talk about the additions yesterday that they made in Rosario. It was an interesting pickup for this team, for the Rays, and they got him for a bargain basement of $1.5 million plus incentives. He was listed by some as the 20th best free agent out there and just never really got a lot of bites because I think people don't see him as a full-time shortstop anymore. But that's not what the Rays need. They don't need him as a full-time shortstop. They need a guy that can play shortstop and give you a little pop here and there. He's really good against lefties, hits .298. 806 OPS against lefties. It's a really nice piece to add at this point of the season, early on in spring training where you can get him kind of acclimated to the Rays way and see where he can help you. I think it's a nice pickup. Nothing dynamic, but it's a good piece.
Yeah, I think like this move to me, kind of like I think all the moves for the most part the Rays have made. Like if you look at them on the surface, I think that they look like really good moves because they look like good finds. Necessarily, and again, they're not going to ever spin. Just not going to happen. But I think at this point, $1.5 million for Ahmed Rosario, even at 28 years old. Listen, he's played like 8 years in the league. He's been around for a while. He's a veteran. I talked a lot about wanting some veterans in the clubhouse. He's been on some really good baseball teams as well. Not the greatest defender. I kind of said this when it happened. He's not going to be Taylor Walls out there at short.
Right.
Okay, and that's unfair to compare him to Taylor. But even as a league average hitter, and that's what the numbers typically tell you, overall, he's a league average hitter who is actually pretty good at hitting lefties as well. To me, that already screams big upgrade over Taylor Walls.
Yeah,
already at shortstop. And,
sure.
and again, as well as, and I think Walls actually might be sidelined to start the season as well.
Yeah,
so then you're kind of stuck with the only true shortstop you have on the roster is Basabe. And I don't think the Rays definitely wanted to go into the regular season with Oslevis Basabe as their starting shortstop. And I don't think
they got Caballero too.
They have Caballero as well. Yeah. They have a lot of middle infielders now. They have a lot. I mean, you think about Camanero's there. I mean, to me, this makes it likely that Caminero is going to start the year at AAA.
Right.
That seems likely to me.
I don't think there's any question about that. Yeah.
Right. And then you still
Which
have
is probably
Meade.
where he should be.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get him up here. I get it. But you don't want him coming up here and getting overwhelmed. That's just not what you want right now.
Hold on, did you see what happened to me?
No. What happened?
All of a sudden, my leg like bumped into my chair, the adjuster part, and I literally just.
I love that.
Gotta get back up here. But no, to finish my point on Rosario, I think I really like him at second. Like I've talked a lot about getting Brandon Lau off his feet.
Yeah.
Like if he's going to be a part of this team moving forward, and they're not interested in trading him and all those things.
Yeah.
And the interest of him with all these injuries, and I know swinging is definitely the worst part for a back injury.
Yeah. Exactly.
Get him off his feet.
Yeah.
That's what I think Rosario will fit a need there too.
Yep. That's fair. And I think what's interesting is their starting pitching, I think is going to be interesting. And we talked a little bit about Uwasawa yesterday, the Japanese kid. I think it's very interesting. His numbers are really, really good. When you look at him from the Japanese standpoint, and I just think with you combine him with the Rays smarts, I bet he's going to be a very productive pitcher for them. And obviously you want to look towards the back end of the season where you get Springs and Rasmussen back. And now you're looking at a rotation that could be really, really good. Now you don't know how those guys come back. It could take them a while to find their control and get really effective. But, I think early in the season, you're going to have to get a lot of help from your bullpen, obviously. What are you thinking in terms of the starting rotation?
Yeah, I think in terms of is this starting rotation at the moment the level to be a World Series contender? I don't really think so.
No.
Without the big guys, without McClanahan, right. Rasmussen, and Springs, I think you're asking too much there. But there's still a lot of talent here. I'm going to be curious to see how Zach Eflin comes out, because Zach Eflin's being told that, you're the ace now of the staff. Like last year, he was a great find, and he started the year as like their 3, I believe, or maybe their 4. Yeah. And he definitely overexceeded expectations. Now he's the ace. So I'm curious to see what Eflin looks like. But remember, you still have Savali's there, and Savali didn't blow me away, if I'm being completely honest with you, when I saw him pitch for the Rays.
No, his stuff is not
His
electric.
stuff is just not, just kind of there. Yeah. Littell, we'll see if Littell can carry on his kind of thing that last year when they put him as a starter. Yeah. I kind of forget about him at times. I mean, Baz is in the mix.
His numbers were really good.
His numbers were really good. Baz is in the mix. Bradley's in the mix. And Uwasawa, I think he has a chance to be the biggest bargain of this entire team this year. I mean, he signed for a minor league deal and literally said he did that on purpose because he wanted to be with the Rays. And said he had interest before doing it. Makes the move. I mean, he's a 3-time All-Star in the Japan League. I looked at the numbers and everything. I'm not going to act like I've watched this guy religiously pitch in Japan.
No, the numbers look good, though.
But the numbers look good.
And
you
they
can watch some
typically
of the
translate.
Stuff. Yeah, I think he has a chance to be. I think he has a chance to stick. I really do think he has a chance to stick. I'm excited about Uwasawa.
Yeah, and Littell, once he got into the rotation, his ERA was 3.34.
Right.
With a 5.03 OPS in 12 starts.
And he started
51
going
to 5
too.
strikeout to walk ratio. Those are really good numbers. Really good numbers. So if you can get that out of him, again, the Rays just find a way. And the offense in the regular season was not an issue, right? So look, I think this team is eminently capable of competing for the division title again. Regular season, there's no reason to think this team won't be in the mix, even though they don't have the huge names and the huge numbers. I think they're very much in the mix. With Kevin Cash as the manager, he's clearly shown he knows how to get it done. Now we could get into the season and, all these guys that were surprises last year, like Littell and Eflin and some of the others that pitched really, really well, might revert back to being not so good. And it could be a little bit of a challenge because they're obviously in a very competitive division, and maybe the other teams just get better and stay better. I mean, the Orioles aren't going anywhere. They got better in the offseason. Clearly the Yankees got better. See Stanton's in better shape. He's lost weight.
We're doing this again with Stanton, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not holding my breath that this is going to be a murderer's row, but you add Juan Soto, that's significant. It's significant with that lineup.
I'm not going to ignore what the Yankees have done.
And don't be shocked if Blake Snell ain't wearing pinstripes in the next couple of weeks.
Right, but I'm that's an interesting fit if that happens. Blake Snell in New York, I think that has a chance to be
a disaster.
Yes, and that's hard for a lot of pitchers. I mean, Carlos Rodon was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He got that big deal in New York, and it's like he forgot how to pitch.
Yeah,
last year. I mean, it's really hard in that environment right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know about Blake in New York. I really don't.
We haven't been around him for 4 years now, and when he was here, he was immature. I mean, nobody's going to say no, he wasn't. You go to New York and be immature, and that's not going to work out. You got to be a pro.
Yeah.
or they'll rip you to shreds in the media. That obviously doesn't happen in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I think they picked up Marcus Stroman. I actually think Stroman fits really good in New York, and I know some Yankee fans aren't excited about it. But Stroman's, I think, a solid, dependable, a nice 3 to have in your rotation, and he kind of pitches with that FU mentality.
Yeah,
and I think that fits more New York to me.
Yeah,
so I like that better for them.
But look, I don't. You add a 2-time Cy Young Award winner to that Yankee staff, and
on paper it would look great. But I was going to finish with the Yankees by saying, Soto gets my attention. Aaron Judge gets my attention, but Aaron Judge is already talking about, I got to manage the toe every day. And I look at the rest of the lineup, and it's still Rizzo, it's still LeMahieu, it's Stanton. I mean, these guys just don't move the needle for me in 2024. What else do you have around those guys?
Okay.
I think it's the same thing. I think Baltimore, to me, is the favorite, and I think the Rays are still number 2.
Okay.
83.5 is some of the win-loss total.
You just tossing Toronto out the window?
Toronto always chokes. They choke. They have less regular season success than the Rays. They squeak into the playoffs with all the payroll that they have and everything and all the great players, and they choke every single year.
Someday, they're going to actually
push
live
through
up to
one
their
day.
talent level.
They're going to push through one day. All I'm saying is the over-under on the Rays win
them
total.
and the Maple Leafs.
Over-under on the Rays win total is 83.5, and I think that's disrespectful.
Is that it? Is it really?
They are not. Yeah, they won 99 games last year.
Yeah, that's silly. That's as easy as the Bucks over last year. Take advantage of that. Yeah, take advantage of that. That's a no-brainer right there. Man, that's easy. That's easy money. You may win that by September 1st next year. Who knows? All right, let's take a break. I want to come back and I want to get into some college football as well. Corey Long's going to join us at 11:30. He's going to break down the 12-team playoff. I don't know if you like that. We'll hit that a little bit when we come back. Some FSU versus ACC news we want to get to. Also, there was an interesting article today in the Times on youth sports, in which I am now involved in again, coaching basketball. So we have issues, people. We have issues with our youth sports, and I mean big time. So we're going to get into that a little bit. We'll do some Valspar talk. I see you have your hat on here today. The field's getting better and better, Justin Thomas added. So lots more coming your way here on the JP Peterson Show. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. We had Scott on the program last week, told us to expect there'll be a settlement between Florida State and the ACC, and boom, what do you know? That's probably coming our way here in the next few months. He's a great attorney, super nice guy, and very approachable, as are all the attorneys there. It is a smaller firm that can go up against the big firms and insurance companies, and they will do it and put you first, and that's the big deal. They will make you a priority. It's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation. And that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on TrueBody and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Thursday. Is football season being over, bro, and free agency not yet started up. We'll talk a little Bucks here today, but it's definitely a lull in the schedule, so we can, and that's kind of good because I think it gives us time to brush out some other. I think more important topics.
I tuned in last night to see my UCF Knights
Oh,
kick Miami's butt in baseball.
Really?
Down there in Coral Gables. So
watching a little college baseball.
I've been watching college baseball and I've been watching college softball. The Lady Knowles got rocked in this like Clearwater tournament.
Oh, they did.
They could not pitch
What
at
happened?
all. They lost like it was like 17 to like 5 or something like that. One of the games.
Yikes! To Oklahoma.
Yeah, I've been tuning into
Oklahoma
college
hasn't lost in
baseball,
like
softball,
4
though.
years in softball. Like they haven't lost.
They're and like the start they've gotten off to this season is like better than what it was last season when it was like historic.
Wow. Incredible. We are brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, by the way, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and his team over there will get your health right where it needs to be, your immune system, your testosterone, because if you haven't had your testosterone checked lately, guys, you probably need to do so and get it right. Very, very important. And also your nutrition. They'll do a personal plan for you, exercise plan, nutrition plan, and that's what you need. If you're going to your doctor and they're not asking you about your sleep habits or your workout habits or your eating habits, you're not getting the full shake. So go to the Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, and get your appointment now. So I wanted to get into this topic of youth sports because I think I read in this piece that they did in the Times today that they've lost like 40% of the officials in sports leagues, youth leagues, like 40% have just quit over the last 5 to 10 years because of the abuse that they're getting from parents and players and kids. I'm coaching an 11 and under team. So, we got 9, 10, and 11-year-olds out there. And, the parents, for the most part, I have on my team, they're fantastic. They have no issues whatsoever. They don't, but there's some other parents like this last week, for instance, there's guys out there and other parents out there yelling about other kids. Like, you should never talk about another kid, right? Like yelling and screaming, oh, that guy can't go left. He can't go, he can't dribble with his left hand. And yelling and screaming about, one of my players. And it's like, if you want to say that to your kid, pull him to the side, go to the coach and say, hey, you don't yell that out at the middle. There's a 9, 10, 11-year-old out there. Yell that stuff out. Oh, this kid can't do that. Come on now. Be better than that. Be better than that. And then yelling at referees. I mean, we got kids out there that are, making $10 an hour, whatever the hell they're making, and they're getting, they're doing the best they can. They're not professional referees, and they make bad calls all the time. I mean, you just laugh about it. This is not high school basketball. It's not even middle school basketball. You got to keep it in perspective. But here's part of the problem. When in our, YMCA that I work with, I think it's $99 for the season. Like, okay, very reasonable for the facilities and coaching and all this stuff, especially for the coaching. I mean, you get me for a coach for $99 for the season. I mean, what a bargain. You get what you pay for. That right there. But it's a great environment to play, and you get the gyms and whatnot. It's great. So, but we're talking about, there are volleyball leagues that, cost $5,000 a year, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for hockey leagues and travel teams and all these things. And I think when these parents spend so much money, they feel like they have the right to ridicule, publicly scorn officials and coaches because they're paying so much money. It was never, youth sports was never meant for this, folks. We have gotten way off track. We've professionalized 11-year-old basketball. That's wrong. That is wrong. And we now have data that tells us 70% of kids quit youth sports by the time they're 13 years old. 70%. That's a horrific number, because I believe sports is so important to developing a youngster on so many levels. Even if you're not a great athlete, being part of a team, being coached, having to have responsibilities to get your, of your uniform, to go to practice, to be there on time, to be a good teammate, to try hard, to be physically fit, to use your body physically fit. Just sitting around playing video games ain't where it's at, folks, for kids. So I think playing sports is a very, very important part of your youth. And if 13% or 70% at the age of 13 are quitting youth sports, that's a horrible trend. And I think part of that is by the time you get to be 12 or 13, every league now becomes this uber competitive, high-priced league.
Yeah.
That, some of these kids feel like, I'm not good enough. I'm not going for a scholarship. I'm not doing it. So they get intimidated that they can't play anymore. And that's bad. It's bad.
Right. And I have a lot of experience with this because I'm a lot closer to I'm a lot closer removed from the sports, youth sports scene, obviously, than when you played. Yeah. And I'm sure it was very different back then.
Yes.
But from my experience, I played as many sports as I could until basically they tell you, and they basically force you into it, which I don't think is great. You get to like 11, 12, and they tell you, you need to drop doing it. You need to stop playing this sport. You need to figure out which one you're best at, and you need to devote all your time into that.
That's ridiculous.
I think that time for me came when I was like 12, I think, and I had to give up baseball. Like, who wants to give up baseball when they're 12 years old? But they like force you to do it. And the seasons, back in the day, I used to know that, and my dad used to tell me this all the time, the seasons for like football, baseball, soccer were all different. Yeah. And now they all kind of run parallel, and they put you in that box of you have to do one thing. And I don't think that's good for anybody. It leads to burnout. I think another problem is, and this is a parent thing, I think, a lot of parents, I saw this all the time. It's like they see their kid do something, really good in a game or in a practice, and all of a sudden, and using a soccer, it's like they think they have the next Messi on their hand.
Yeah.
And they get so involved in it. Yeah. And they become like the spokesman for their kid and everything of like, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this. And it's like the kid is never really taken into account for what he wants to do.
Right.
Right. And again, it leads to burnout. And I think that's why a lot of kids stop playing at a point, because they just it just gets too hectic. And then it comes to the price of it as well. You mentioned the YMCA, and that's a great deal. But as you said, once you get to that age, 11, 12, 13, they jam it down your throat. You have to play travel. You have to play competitive. Right. Well, guess what? 10 years ago when I was playing travel soccer, that price was probably around $700, $800, I think, for the whole year. Yeah. I looked this morning of the same league that I played in. That's up to $1,500 now.
That's crazy.
That's soccer. And by the way, that's soccer. That has a direct effect on what the national team and the quality of
Yeah.
soccer in this country ends up being.
That's right.
Because you price out so much of the markets in the United States when you make it a blue-collar sport like that, which soccer never, or not a blue-collar, what's the word?
White collar?
White collar, there you go.
Yeah.
When you make it a white-collar sport, which it's not that.
Yeah.
It's a ball. All you need is a ball. That's the most beautiful thing about it.
Yeah.
But they made it a white-collar sport, so it has a direct effect to what you see when it gets to the adult league. So the whole system sucks. Okay, long story short, the whole system sucks for all the reasons I just pointed out.
It's broken. It really is. And $1,500 to play soccer. I mean, what are you paying for? I mean, the fields. Come on, that's crazy. The coaching. I think a lot of this is you get there's a lot of people that are in this for profit now, big time. And my kids didn't play volleyball, but evidently the volleyball structure in Tampa Bay is one that one person owns all of these different leagues. It's like a cartel. There's no really options. If your daughter wants to play volleyball, you got to get involved in this Tampa Bay league. And it's run by, one entity. And if you don't like it, it's $500 tryouts.
Yeah.
$500 tryouts.
Yeah, I'm paying money to try out for your team.
$5,000, to be in the league. And if you don't like your coach situation that you're assigned to, tough, crap, either take it or leave it. If your kid quits, you ain't getting the money back. It's just, there's horror stories about it that I've been told, and it's crazy. And that's not what youth sports was meant to be. And just think about the message that you're sending to your kid. Like, trust me, if you're cutting a check for $5,000, your kids know about it. Your kids are going to know about it one way or another. They're going to find out. That's pressure. That puts pressure on them to I have to perform. That's a lot of money that my family's spending on this. I have to perform. That's not what, sports is meant to be, youth sports. So, I think we have a lot of issues with the cost of these things. The setup of these things. You've got certain situations in travel spots where, a high school coach will kind of own the travel league around his area. And it becomes known that if you're not in his travel league where, you're paying $500, $1,000 a season, not a year, a season to get on that team, just to get on the team before you even start paying for travel. I had a father come to me and tell me his kid was one of the best players, of that group, made all-stars every year. But by the time he got to about 12 years old, he had to go into this system, right? This travel system. And he didn't have the money. He didn't have, $1,500 a season to pay for baseball. So his kid, in the end couldn't make the high school baseball team because, he wasn't in the group. He wasn't in the group. He wasn't on the travel team that kind of fed into that particular high school. That's wrong.
Yeah, it's a big thing in high school baseball that if you're not on a travel team and you go to try out for a high school baseball team, they pretty much will tell you straight to your face. You've got no business being out here.
Right. Did you go through that?
I didn't play baseball at the travel level, so I never had to
try out for a high school team.
No, because I had to stop playing baseball when I was 12. I had to focus on soccer, and that never came up because I played travel soccer.
Which did you want to play more? Mom's listening; she's going to be very upset.
Well, I grew up in a baseball family,
right?
As you know, so
did you want to keep playing baseball?
I think for me, I probably stopped because I just wasn't progressing enough. But I was also loving soccer more.
Right. Okay.
So I concentrated on soccer. So my situation was a little different. But yeah, I did do that. But it was the same thing for soccer. If you didn't play travel soccer, you were not in the clique. And a lot of these things, when you're that age, it's all about the cliques that you run in.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's right. And I think the pressure that's put on these kids is way too much. There's got to be some alternatives. And I think there are some non-competitive, quote, non-competitive leagues, and that needs to exist. Low level, not hundreds of dollars.
I started playing soccer at a church league.
Yeah.
It had to have been what you said, $100 maybe.
Yeah.
And you get the basics out of it, and it's fun. Yeah. It starts as co-ed and gets more challenging as it goes on. It just depends what you want out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the parents kind of make those decisions without judging where their kid is from a development standpoint.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, what your experiences have been with youth sports, positive and negative, because I think, I grew up in youth sports. Like that was my dad left when I was young. So my youth sports was kind of my way. I went to a practice every day after school, whether it was, in middle school, it was, basketball team, or then, was the local, Rotary baseball team or football team, something like that. I was constantly playing sports, and you never felt like it was like this professional type deal. It was very recreational type stuff. And the kids that were better got on the all-star teams and did progress that way. And then when you got to high school, you went out for your high school team, and there was no, were you on the travel team or any of that stuff? You just went out there and you tried out, and the best kids made the team.
I also think, it also has devalued, I think, the high school system of sports. I don't think high school sports is no longer like the it thing.
Yeah.
Especially like we talk about, NBA culture, especially. It's all about these AAU tournaments. Nobody gives a damn where you went to high school at when you're an NBA college basketball prospect. You get known by going to these AAU tournaments. And guess what? That stuff costs money. If you haven't figured it out, it's all just like a money scheme, essentially, just for you to show out in these like one-on-one AAU tournaments. It's the same thing in football, these 7-on-7 tournaments with no pads, and that's going to tell me who the better player is. Like, I don't know. The whole thing, it gets me.
And it goes up to, to college sports now with the 12-team playoff that was just announced. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Brett McMurphy put out a tweet that it was the Oregon State AD that was in these meetings, said that the SEC put forward a motion that the SEC get 4 automatic bids in the 12-team playoff, which when you think about it, that's probably because the bias towards them always being top ranked teams, they're probably going to be in the top 7 rankings anyway. So you're going to have the 5 highest ranked conference champions get automatic bids. And I guess that's all conferences, right? Of the D1 conferences or FBS conferences. Doesn't matter if it's AAC or whatever it is, but you have to be in the top 5 rankings. So the college football playoff selection committee is still going to play a very big role in this. And if it's the same people, then it's corrupt.
I went back to read the tweet. It actually is even worse than you think. It's not just the SEC. Right. It proposed the Big Ten as well.
Yeah.
On top of that, so the Big Ten and the SEC would get 8 of the 12. If I'm reading that correctly?
Yes. 8 of the 12. That's what they proposed.
And that leaves it to
their 2 conference champions would get the automatic bids, and then they would get 6 at large.
Right, and then that would leave 4 bids remaining for 7 conferences, plus Notre Dame, who is the big winner in all this.
Right.
They might. Here's the thing: it's like the new SEC and the new Big Ten. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that those aren't the 2 best conferences in college football, regardless of how we feel about what happened this year with the snub and all that. Those are the 2 best conferences. Now they are. I don't think the Big Ten was that last year, like everybody kept saying. But now that they've added some of this, the Oregons, all those guys in there, I think it is better. Like, they might just earn that on their own. Like, if they earned it on their own, I have no problem with it. But just saying it out loud, like, okay, these are the 2 best conferences, so without even seeing the games being played, we're just going to automatically give them 8 bids.
Yeah.
At that point, just go to a 12-team playoff of the SEC and the Big Ten and tell everybody to screw off and go home.
Exactly.
That's how I read that. It's the arrogance of these conferences, man.
Well, it's a money grab. It's all a money grab. And I don't know how they're going to set up the payments of, how the money works. There was no mention of that, unfortunately, and that's not a surprise. Like, where's the money going for the playoff? Like, how much is ESPN paying for the playoff? Is Fox going to get involved in this? I think there should be more than one carrier, because clearly when ESPN is the only carrier, they have more political power to put the college football playoff committee, which is a joke, and try to act like it's some autonomous body, which it is not, clearly. So yeah, I want this in the sunshine. There is no reason to have closed doors when they're debating this stuff. Why? It's college football. We should know who's doing what. And if I hear this, well, there'll be death threats on people if they don't vote. Look, first of all, nobody's killing anybody over these selections. If somebody's doing that, they're crazy. They're gonna they're gonna do something wrong anyway. That person needs to be locked up. That's a whole different issue. But if you're not thick-skinned enough to be on the committee, that you're going to get heat, then don't do it. Nobody's asking you making you do it. Don't do it. We can find 12 mentally tough people or 10 mentally tough people. And I'm tired of the AD people on this thing or any of these political appointees. They're either coaches or players. I'm tired of the administrators. You don't know what you're doing. You're just corrupt people that have been paid off before. Sorry. Well, I have no interest in that whatsoever. This should be about football, what happens on the field, and nothing more. Why have any AD as part of this college football selection committee? Please explain that to me. When it's supposed to be about football, why are there athletic directors and other people, ancillary connections to college football that are on this committee? Ridiculous. Coaches and players. That's all I got.
And the other thing that came out of this thing yesterday that just boggles my mind is the discussions about making it a 14-team playoff
already
starting in 2026. We haven't even had the 12-team playoff, and they're trying to figure out this starting in the 2026 season. And in the article that was on ESPN from Pete Thamel and Heather Dinich, it sounds like officials walked away feeling that they made some momentum towards that. At what point is enough? I think we all could agree that 4, for the most part, was probably not enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we were all on board. And then it was well, why don't we do 8? Well, then it became 12. And now it's 14. It's going to keep happening. It's
here's the thing, Nick. It's not so much about, if we have 4, is that enough to find the best team in the nation? Well, normally it is, actually.
Sometimes it is. College football is not college basketball.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, there's no 64 seed. If you made this 64 teams like the tournament, a 64 team is not knocking out number 1. Okay, I even looked at the poll. If you did a 14-team playoff based on last year, you think Penn State had any chance of hell of sticking with Georgia?
Yeah.
Or any of these top teams last year, or Oklahoma State or Oklahoma? Come
Liberty.
on.
Liberty would have been included.
At some point, it's I don't need to see these games.
Right.
I know what's going to happen.
But the part of the problem is, if you only have 4 teams, there's only 3 games that matter in the postseason.
Right. That's
nothing
that was
else
the problem.
matters.
That was the problem with the 14
Exactly.
postseason.
Yeah, there's only 3 games bowls that matter, and nobody plays in the other ones. Even the Orange Bowl, nobody cared. Nobody cared. So you've got to have a postseason that people are actually watching. So you've got to have more teams to do that. I think that's the biggest thing with this postseason tournament. It's not. I mean, do I really believe that the 11th ranked team has a chance to beat the number 1 ranked team in a playoff? Probably not. And there's certainly, and that 11th ranked team or 12th ranked team is not going to win 3 games to win a national championship against much better competition.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. You're asking those schools, even under the 12 team, okay, Notre Dame doesn't have to play a conference championship game. Cool. To get in. That's a benefit to them.
Right.
But you're asking a team like that, and let's say they already have 2 or 3 losses on their resume, but they're the number 12 team in the land. You're asking them to win 4 games in a postseason.
Yeah.
So
that's more than some NFL teams have to win.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
But I just think at some point you got to stop. Let's get to 12. Let's see how it goes. We don't need any talks about 14 before this gets just completely out of hand.
Yeah, and as far as the other bowl games go, I mean, now we've got all these games now. So what is it going to be with 12 teams? I think you got you have 4 games the opening weekend, 4, 2, 1 now. Is that what it is? Yeah, because you have 8. Yeah, 4, 2, 1. Yeah. So, and there's maybe the other bowl games move to the beginning of the season because these games that nobody's playing in. What is the point of that? It's a farce. It's a farce. There's got to be some way to put meaning into those players, or use all the revenue to pay the players to play in the game, and stop just giving it to the schools. You pay the players to play in these other bowl games, and maybe they'll play. Otherwise, they're just meaningless exhibitions. They're like spring football games. Nobody's
and that's how I'm going to treat them. I could care less about the results of any of them.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Brian Bradley's going to join us from Amalie Arena as the Bolts get set to take on the Capitals tonight. It's ESPN's Hockey Night. It'll be featured nationwide, globally, the Lightning broadcast. So we'll talk to Brian Bradley and see where he thinks this Lightning team is at right now. 3-minute break. Stay with us.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Start the new year with a new diamond from the Gold and Diamond Source. It's still engagement season. Where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? Of course, I just got mine there. I'm engaged. You should do the same thing. Let's go. Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country. A literal jewelry superstore with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. And if you have a loved one or a special person in your life who has a birthday this month, maybe you have an anniversary coming up, you can get 15% off the January birthstone, which is garnet, as in garnet and gold for all your Seminoles. Celebrate that mythical national championship. And it's the Gold and Diamond Source's 40th anniversary. For the past 40 years, they have taken pride in offering only natural diamonds formed over billions of years from the Earth's incredible forces. And gold prices are at an all-time high. Now's your chance to turn your jewelry box into a cash machine. It's the perfect time to trade in your broken or unworn pieces for something new and stunning. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
This is The Strike. 102.5 WHPT, HD2 Sarasota, Tampa, St. Pete.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. You know, you never know what you're going to find on Twitter.
I'm scared already.
This is actually a kind of funny thing. I'll retweet this. So it's a kid. He looks like he's probably about 8, 9 years old, maybe 10. And it's like a high school basketball game. And they're doing like the high school, the little 4-shot challenge where you do layup, free throw, 3-point, and then half court. Like, this kid's so small. I don't even know how he got the ball to the rim in half court. And he made all 4 in a row. And he won $10,000.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. See how small this kid is? What is he? What do you think? 10 years old, maybe?
Is he shooting from an NBA three-point line?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Hold on.
Hold on. He went past half court. I'm at the part where he's hitting a half quarter.
All right. Yeah. So he hits a 3.
Oh, he threw it over. Oh, my gosh. He threw a bullet with one hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just nothing but net, man. Nothing but net. Oh my God.
Yeah. Just wait till his parents take the entire thing from him. Yeah.
All right. Do you have Bradley on
No,
on
I
the
haven't
phone?
been able to connect with him yet.
All right. Let me see if I can see. He says he's clicked in and I don't see him. So maybe I sent him the wrong link. Let me try to do that one more time. So you can entertain the people here for a little second while I get this done.
Entertain the people?
So yeah. Tell them something about wrestling that's going on.
I don't know. Lonnie actually he chimed in. He said, "Did you see how jacked Randy is now?" I assume you are talking about Randy Orton, Lonnie. Yes, he is jacked. And by the way,
think he's talking about Randy Rosarena.
Oh, Randy Rosarena. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. See, my wrestling mind, I can't even shut it off. My goodness. Yeah, both Randys are jacked. But I was going to take that time to mention that you are going to catch me, JP, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to watch the next pay-per-view. It is in Perth, Australia, and I'm going to wake up that early.
What?
Because that is when it starts. The Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It's the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, and I'm going to get up that early to watch it in Perth, Australia.
Perth, Australia?
Yep. Perth, Australia.
You know who else is in Australia right now?
Who?
Travis. Seeing his girl in Sydney. Travis Kelce. So is this the season in Australia that they get all the big concerts and wrestling and all that stuff?
I guess so. This one's been planned for a while though. They're doing a show in Paris too, right after Mania pay-per-view. They're going to all of these countries. So
yeah. Good
times. Lonnie said, "I need thoughts on the Rays' new batting practice hat with the old TB logo. That thing is a thing of beauty.
The
a
what?
Thing of beauty. The Rays got a new batting practice hat this week.
Oh, not the yellow one?
No, not the yellow one. This one is actually heat. I actually have a picture of it right here. I'm going to pull it up.
All right. This is the batting practice hat, like a helmet or a hat?
This is a hat.
Is it bright yellow? Let me see this thing.
No. Look at that thing.
Oh, that's sweet.
See, that's
a nice hat. That's
the retro
classic.
logo with the blue.
Yeah.
And we got Fred in the background taking a swing. I love that.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Don't buy
overthink
that yellow.
this.
Don't buy that yellow monstrosity. Don't buy that thing.
That's awful. That is awful. Yeah. No good. All right. Hey, let's take a break and we'll see if we can get Brian hooked up on the phone because I think we're having an issue with the StreamYard. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side and get Brian Bradley to talk a little hockey here with your Tampa Bay Lightning. We're brought to you by Italiano Insurance, folks. 813-877-7799. Get that insurance checkup to save you thousands of dollars. They do all the work. You save all the money, whether it's auto insurance, homeowners insurance. If your homeowners insurance has gone up, let them shop it around. See if they can get you right. 813-877-7799. Stay with us.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom. You want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement cost, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here. We had a couple issues getting Brian Bradley hooked up, and he's got another event he's got to go to, so we'll catch up with him at another time. But don't forget, it's Lightning and Capitals tonight. The Lightning, I called up Cole Koepke. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing tonight, but we'll see what the lineups bring this evening. But I would expect a very spirited response from the Lightning after these two straight home losses, and with back-to-back games on the road coming up this weekend. They got to get these 2 points. As John Cooper said, it is playoff time. It is playoff time. So,
I said that going into Ottawa. Did exactly. I look like
didn't translate.
I had egg on my face. On my face. Thank you, Lightning, for that one.
Yeah, I may have made a little wager in that feeling that Abbasi would come back with a shutout, but didn't happen. But I did hit the under on the Lightning game and the over on the Carolina game. So that was a nice little hard rock parlay. Thank you very much. All right, to some of the comments here before we Corey Long's going to join us at 11:30, and want to get into a couple other things that we haven't talked about yet today. By the way, these hats run a small size, so you can't even get the right size anymore. Is that Fanatics at it again?
You bet it.
Yeah.
My goodness. On the Fanatics thing, by the way, it just gets worse. Did you see the photo of Ohtani yesterday?
Which one?
They did like his like headshot and like full body shot or whatever, like what do you call it? Like, you know, the portraits or whatever they do for all the players, all that.
Yeah.
And they posted it, and all everybody can focus on is the fact that the new pants are see-through. They are legit see-through pants.
What do you mean see-through?
I'm gonna try to find the photo here to show you.
I don't want see-through pants.
Yeah,
the ladies
pants
may
are see-through.
want see-through pants, but I'm not interested in see-through pants.
They look like $5 pants.
Ashley will be very excited.
Yeah, they look like $5 pants, and they're see-through. And then the belt loop, it's not like a regular like belt loop. It looks just very, very goofy on top of everything. It's awful. The whole uniform is awful.
What are we doing? Like, just regular baseball, crisp white uniforms are fantastic. Like, what are we doing?
They've ruined everything, JP. They've ruined everything.
John Hill says 44 years ago today marks the miracle on ice. That's interesting.
4 years already.
So February 22. By the way, happy birthday to the lovely Ashley. 222 is Ashley's birthday. So happy birthday, honey. Also George Washington's birthday. Also Gigi Fernandez's birthday. as you know.
Yes.
So happy birthday to all of them, including you, George, turning over in his grave. So put that uniform up there. So
There we go.
this is.
Look at those see-through pants.
Is that just not shadowing, or that's
No.
just like,
That's the jersey. That's the jersey going underneath him.
what the hell are we doing?
And look at the belt loop. Look at that belt loop. What is that?
What is that?
It's like a what do they call it? A parallelogram or whatever?
I know, yeah. A
And
rectangle.
up here in front, it looks like he's wearing like chaps almost. Like
What are we doing? What?
it's
Is that
awful.
an LA thing?
It's all no. This is every jersey. It's awful. Everything's bad about it.
That is bad.
Like the players' union isn't actively involved. By the way, that was the newest thing that came out yesterday from the Athletic. The players' union is involved in this because there is not a single player that is like impressed by these things. And of course, for fans, they're charging you like crazy ass prices to get this stuff.
Yeah, that's but we used to have these old baseball jerseys that were kind of they were heavy, like heavy cotton, and it wasn't, but it didn't make you hot. And we had they were sleeveless, like they were sleeveless, and then you wore the undershirt, the other color undershirt, and then you had just the top. It was nice uniform, very two-tone, really cool. Love those things. All right, a couple other things we want to get to. USF basketball wins last night at UTSA. They were down late to a team that they have no business being down late to. You expected a little bit of a lull after that big win against FAU. So they go on the road. They fall down late, but they end up winning, I think, by 6 points. So no problem. They get the win. They got SMU coming in on Sunday. Still on a run. That's 12 in a row in the conference. They're on their way to winning this conference championship. But again, late in the game, this team knows how to win. These are games that people lose all the time in college basketball. You go on the road, little hostile environment. League leader coming in. And you just you kind of lay an egg, but even when they're not shooting at their best, they find ways to win games. That's a mark of a good team.
Yeah, they shot 4 of 23 from three in that game.
Yeah.
That's 17.4%.
Typically, you're going to lose those games,
right?
You're going to lose that game.
Exactly. They got out rebounded as well. Like that's a recipe for losing a game in college basketball, and you're on the road on top of that, coming off a very emotional victory at home, and they still managed to go on a 12-2 run, I think it was, to close it out. Like, that's the thing. It's like they don't play their best basketball, and I know it's UTSA, and you probably shouldn't be in that situation to begin with. But still, I mean, a win's a win's a win's a win. That's really all that matters. They're starting to get their respect nationally. Like, Amir Abdur-Rahim, he's the slam dunk coach of the year in that conference. There's no doubt about that.
Well, maybe even nationally.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's got to be at least up for the award nationally if there's any justice in that award, in my opinion, for what he's doing. And then they're also, I think they got 30-ish around their AP poll votes this time around, so they're inching closer.
Just under the top 25,
Yeah, which, at the end of the day, just win your conference to get in. It won't matter what the rankings are, but it would be cool to see it, though.
Yeah, I'm worried that this team, what if they fall, by 2 points at the buzzer to FAU, and they're sitting there at 22 and 6, and 23 and 6, and they don't get into dance. That's going to be bananas. That's going to be bananas. It would help them if Florida State would go on a run, because that would make the win over Florida State look better.
Have fun with that.
But that's not going to happen. What's that?
I've said that that's just not going to happen. Florida State's not a good basketball team.
Although Z said they went to a little bit of a different lineup the other day and played much better against Boston College, but they just, again, it's a team that lacks scoring in the clutch. They don't run good offensive sets. They're always great defensively, and they wear you down with their depth. But this year they've had a lot of injuries, so that depth is not really there. And when you can't score in the clutch, you just can't win big games, especially in the ACC. So I don't see them doing anything in the tournament either.
I think Coach Ham, to me, feels like there might be an expiration date coming. I really do think so. It's been tough the last few years.
Yeah. It sucks. I hate that. The COVID team was the best team in the nation.
That was the best team he ever had, and he never got to see what it looked like.
Yeah, in the tournament. That's too bad. But yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Whereas
definitely gone stale.
Yeah, whereas so like just quick little stock watch, I guess. So USF obviously stock up.
Way up.
FAU is still, even though they're not ranked anymore, still stock is up.
Yep.
FSU is stock down.
Florida lost in OT last night at Alabama.
I was going to get to Florida though. That would have been a big
Yeah.
win, but they've been playing really well and
Yeah,
they can
they're-
score.
Yeah.
I think they're a sneaky team. Like if they get in the tournament, I think they're going to get in the tournament regardless.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if they're like a 7 seed, 6 seed, 8, like one of those, I think they could scare some people in the tournament because they can really score.
No, absolutely. Clayton's a hell of a player.
We won't talk about my UCF basketball team. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think
we peaked already. We got our win over Kansas and we dipped.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get those big wins, and then you got to follow it up, and that's what USF's been able to do.
Right,
is just keep winning, and but I think unfortunately with their metrics, I think they're still in the high 90s or the mid 90s in terms of their metric number or whatever the hell those are. And they used to have the power
keep
rankings.
track of the college basketball, like how they do it. I'm telling you, with like all these quads and everything they call them.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Quad 1, quad 2 win, quad 3. Yeah.
And it makes sense to me here. How does the Mountain West, like the bracketology over at On 3 we have, and this has been pretty consistent with all of them, has the Mountain West getting 6 teams in this tournament, and the ACC is only getting 4.
That doesn't make any sense.
Is the ACC like that bad this year?
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good. Yeah, they haven't had a lot of outside. I don't think a lot of success outside the conference. So, this college basketball just is so. And I want to talk a little bit about this because Nick Saban sounded off yesterday about college football, especially, but just college sports in general. And he flat out said what we've been saying for a long time, but coming from Nick Saban, it actually means something. He said the term student athlete just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, that's a sobering thought. Claiming student athletes no longer exist is a sobering thought, but it's a fact, and he knows it. And he knows it is, and it's what I've been telling you for years and years and years. But a coach of his stature cannot come out and say that until he's no longer in the game, right? It needs to be fixed. And I even postulated that to Brett yesterday. I would love to see Nick Saban become the czar of college football or college sports in that realm. Football just basically, and probably basketball as well. The money has just gotten so big in terms of television that you've got to run it like a professional sport. And we've grown up in this whole system of our colleges being these huge athletic programs that are feeders to professional play. It's not like that in other parts of the world. Like it's not,
right.
Cambridge is not a professional feeding ground, for the soccer teams in the Premier League. It's not the way it works. They don't use their higher learning institutions, and maybe their rowing team, but they don't use their higher learning institutions to be farm leagues for big professional leagues. This kind of just morphed into that here in the United States. And a lot of positive has come of it, but now it's like, it is what it is. You can't have these players generating all this revenue and not pay them. And that's why the NIL is where it has become what it is. And it's the wild, wild West. So, but the problem is, how do you blow it up now when you've got, how many Division I universities, 250, and then when you're talking about football, just in FBS, there's probably a top 85 to 95 that actually, can play in the top division. And maybe it's even less than that. Maybe there needs to be a separation between the Wake Forests and the Florida States. Just because even though Wake Forest beat Florida State, 3 out of 4 years. So those, there are years when, it's cyclical for these bigger. So I think those lower teams like Wake Forest have a place in this bigger mesh of college football. And if Nick Saban were to be the czar, what would he do with college football? I think it would be very interesting to see. And I think what you would have is kind of a professional model of what it looks like. It's an NFL team, an NFL setup with 96 teams or whatever it's going to be, and separate them over the conferences, redo them geographically like they used to be. And let's not have the teams from the West Coast in the ACC. That's just ridiculous. and put it back to the way it used to be in these regional rivalries. Put everything into one big bucket and then dole it out like the NFL does. I mean, that seems to me about the only thing you can do at this point.
Nah, I don't see anybody putting the genie back in the bottle, I guess, as the saying goes at this point. I mean,
you have all these different media rights deals. I mean, the Florida State's deal is part of the issue.
Yeah, it's just there's so many things because of what they've allowed in the last 3 years, what they allow and what they decide to. I'm talking about the NCAA now. What they deem as, like the whole Florida State thing, for example, in Tennessee with the violations and stuff with NIL and their collectives and all that. I mean, just it's like they're cherry picking, They enforce their own rules here, but they don't enforce them in other places because you can't convince me that Florida State and Tennessee were the only two programs doing stuff like that.
Right.
And when you even look at what they did, it's like you probably go, really? That's it? Like, none of it really makes sense to me, but this is kind of the culture they've adopted. The NCAA is like probably the most powerless, like, governing body or whatever you want to call them at this point over an entity that I've probably ever seen. They completely have no spine over anything. And I mean, there was two ways to look at it, though, and especially because the issue now is with coaches, leaving the college game and going to the NFL. Even like a Jeff Hafley took a job from Boston. Boston College is not a great job, but he actually has done a pretty solid job there.
Yeah.
And he takes a defensive coordinator job for the Packers just out of nowhere and says, listen, I want to coach again. And there's a lot of guys say that now. It's like, we're not even coaches anymore.
Yeah, they're not.
It's just not. But there's two ways to look at it. Because then I see yesterday, Kenny Dillingham, the head coach at Arizona State. I don't know if you saw this quote. And he was asked about all the college coaches complaining, about all the new things they have to do. And he said, I spent 9 years of my life doing anything to become a coffee boy. So don't give me it's hard to be a coach right now. Yeah, it's hard. Then quit. Was his and maybe that's
go do something you want to do. Yeah, you want to coach football, go to the NFL. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Kenny's younger though, and I don't think he's had the experiences of some of these other coaches that have been doing it for a while, and now they're being asked to do completely different. Like Nick Saban. You think Nick Saban wants to deal with this stuff at 72 years old?
Hell no.
No. So I think it's a different perspective coming from Kenny Dillingham as a younger head coach, whereas these older guys, they just want to coach ball.
And the other part of it is just not the NIL. It's the empowerment of the player. That, if we're being honest, Nick Saban, if we're being honest, the biggest problem now is the empowerment of the player. The player now has power to transfer whenever he wants, to get money, and they've got a lot more power. They have options where, in Nick's day, they didn't really have options. Players had to sit out a year. You couldn't transfer from one SEC school to another. And if you did want to transfer, Nick was not very happy about it. You were blackballed as soon as you entered the transfer portal. They cleaned out your locker. It's not cool. It wasn't, and it's just not cool. And so he didn't want to deal with that. If we're being completely honest, he can talk about, student athletes not being student athletes. And that's part of it because they got money now and they have options, and it's not as easy to control players and teach them the things that they need to be taught, hard lessons when they have options to leave. And I think he sees the writing on the wall that it's very difficult to coach in this current climate that way.
And by the way, he still adjusted really well at it.
He did.
Listen,
that's what they do. The great ones it does.
There's this misnomer out there that Alabama's just got this unlimited budget to throw around at people, and that's just not true. Yeah. It's really not. These players still bought into the whole Nick Saban ideology and the fact that the goal is to get to the NFL, and what's a better place to go than Alabama when you look at their track record. And also, Saban had such a power there at that university that the money that was coming forward, the donors and all the guys, the boosters, felt empowered to give it to him.
Yes.
Because of what he had done. So he actually adjusted really well compared to so many other coaches is the thing. But I think eventually as you get older, he just was like, it's too much.
Yeah, as the playing field leveled out, with NIL and the money at other schools, and he was losing players, he's like, this isn't as easy as it used to be. And he's 72 years old, and I'm not disparaging him in any way. He's the greatest college coach other than Coach Bobby Bowden to ever coach in the game. I understand more championships. I get it. But yeah, it's just different. And he has every right to say, thank you, but no, thank you. I'll go work at ESPN. But again, I do think there needs to be some, as he said yesterday, some thunderbolt that's going to come down and fix college football, because you can't continue to operate like this. This is just, it's not.
I think they need to break away. I think college football needs to be its own thing away from all the other athletics, because it's so unique.
Yep. Yeah. And the money's so big. It's so big. And then that money can, again, feed back into the universities. But it's just silly to have these kids go to college and go to school and take up space in a room if they don't want to. If a college player wants to go to school, fine. Go to class, pay for it. It's all good. If you don't want to, if you just want to be a football player, then just be a football player. Just be trained and do what you have to do. Let's not, go through these stupid hoops of having other kids take tests for kids to get them into college, which we've been doing for decades. Massaging grade point averages to keep them eligible, all this other stuff. It's just silly. It's an old model. It's archaic. We need to just move on from that and call it what it is. It's professional football at a lower level. That's all it is. And pay the kids and do it the right way. Keep the games on campus, keep all the traditions. You can keep all that stuff, but you need to make it more of a fair, equitable model for these kids that are producing this product. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Corey Long's going to join us. He'll have a thought or two on the new college football playoff and the new system. We'll talk some bolts with him as well as he covers them. We are brought to you by the great folks at our dynamic real estate duo of the Geddes Gordon Group and American Mortgage Services. Rates are coming down a little bit, so get with Scott Fitzgerald, our mortgage man, and he will help you out in your personal finances, get everything straight for you, and help you get a mortgage. Get back in now before the rates go back to what they were and everybody jumps back in and the inventory goes crazy and the prices go nuts. So smart people getting back into the real estate game right now. Go to the GettysGordonGroup.com to find that property, and then Scott Fitzgerald will help you get the mortgage at AMSTampa.com. Scott at AMSTampa.com. Back in 3 with Corey Long. Stay with us. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to GettysGordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
Is getting a home equity line a good idea right now with rates so high? Well, I put that question to my good friend Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services, and he says it all depends on where you're at financially. Many of us with ridiculous inflation have been charging up those credit cards, right? At 29% interest, hoping to catch up, but that ain't happening. Those interest payments are killing you. So yes, a consolidation loan and tapping into that crazy equity in your house is a great idea. That strategy can drop your monthly nut by thousands of dollars and stop wasting money on those interest payments. Fitz, the mortgage guy, has done thousands of loans for the past 25 years in Tampa Bay. Just did one for a former colleague who was a manager for a big bank mortgage division. He knows Scott is an independent broker and can get him a way better deal than at his own big bank. AMS Tampa has way lower overhead and gives you the savings. So if you're worried about fees and closing costs, have the free consultation with Scott and look at the actual numbers. It may shock you what he can do. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS, 386-722. American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Thursday as the Lightning get set to take on the Capitals tonight at Amalie Arena. It'll be a national game on ESPN. And covering it for NHL.com will be the great Corey Long, who joins us now. What's up, Corey? How are you?
I'm doing well, JP. How you doing?
Well, I guess you're not on AT&T like Brian Bradley
I
because we couldn't get him on, but we got you. Thank God. So it's not good if you're on AT&T. So we were just kicking around a little bit of the college football stuff, but let's hit the Lightning stuff with you first. Becomes a pretty damn huge game tonight against the Capitals after two straight home losses and one to the last place team in the Atlantic, Ottawa. Kind of a must win tonight for the Lightning. What have you seen in the last couple of games that have you worried? Or are you worried?
Well, I'm far more. I'll put it this way: Monday was far more for me discouraging than Saturday. As bad as the Saturday score was, those things can happen. Especially, when I look at it, I thought the fourth goal of the Panthers scored was clearly goalie interference. There's nothing they can tell me that won't tell me that was goalie interference. I mean, Verhaeghe tomahawk shot of Vasilevsky's glove. Vasilevsky didn't sell it well, but the action was still there.
Right.
And then, but so they get that goal they didn't deserve. Then they get a power play to get another goal that they didn't deserve. So, so you start looking at things like that. So it's like, okay, some nights you just don't have it.
Right.
But, really the Ottawa game was just because they got out effort in that game. They really did not put up Ottawa deserved the win. Ottawa played harder. They were quicker on the puck. Yep. They seemed to be quicker in every aspect of the game. And I didn't understand why this team that, needs to win these games, especially that day as I had, there was a scattered, it was a holiday, so it was a scattered schedule on it. As we watched, Atlantic division team after team win in overtime and win and squeeze it, like, oh, they gotta win, and they just never had it for a second. They just never were in it. So now you look at the schedule. This schedule is there for them. I mean, the Capitals tonight, a struggling Islanders team on Saturday, a Devils team that's not much tougher, but still trying to get healthy on Sunday. The Flyers, they're not playing well right now. Sabres not playing well. Canadians, those are your next 6 games. Like, you've got to win these games.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, these are games. You want to know the difference between, this team and the teams that were really competing for the Cup is the teams that were competing for the Cup do these. There was never a reason not to win those games. They understood the games they had to win, and they just went in there and did it. This group, you gotta baby them from period to period. They gotta kind of be reminded that it's serious stuff right now. So so Monday was far more frustrating. Like, not even close compared to.
I agree.
Yeah, Saturday they lost 9-2, whatever. They lost 9-2. Those are games that are easy to get off your mind. But Monday was a game that they had no business losing, and they just went out there and laid an egg.
Yeah, I would agree about that on Monday. I did want to ask, since so many people think that the Lightning need to make a trade or two, and I'm not going to tell you that I don't agree with that. But with that being said, we still know there's a lot of talent on this roster, and we know that the high-end skill guys are certainly pulling their weight. But at the end of the day, we could talk about mortgaging more parts of the future to get other guys in here, but isn't it kind of, you look at the Tony Cirellis of the world, the Nick Pauls of the world, the Ace Amonts, that those guys kind of got to start getting it going too, right? I mean, they're still getting paid at least Paul is and Cirelli a pretty penny to be on this team right now.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, Cirelli's getting paid like a top 6 forward.
right.
And, he's, one thing he's starting to, I guess, warm up a little bit. He's definitely been a catalyst behind Brandon Hagel getting hot. I will say that little pairing has worked out well. Yeah, I mean, Nick Paul, you'd like to see him. He had a good start. He looked like he was doing a lot of things as a net front guy in the power play.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to see him get more gritty goals. You'd like to see him in the mix a little bit more. You just don't have a lot of depth scoring. That's why when people ask me about trades, there's a number of ways that there's no reason for them not to make a trade because there's a lot of things they need. It's at first it was starting off well. You need a right-handed shot defenseman. Well, everybody in the league wants one of those. So that's so it's a finite number of guys that can fill that. But with Sergachev out, heck, you need a left side person too, to be honest with you now, to fill your left side depth. So that opens up a lot more doors. And this team needs more skill. They need more skill. They need another goal scorer. So that opens up a few more doors to see if you can find if you can find somebody in your middle 6, bottom 6 that can get you some goals. Connor Sheary has one more goal than the three of us that are currently in this conversation this season. Tanner Jeannot just hadn't played. He hasn't been healthy. He's a presence on the ice when he's out there, but he's not. They were hoping he could kind of be a goal scorer in the teams, the upper teams. That hasn't happened. So you got to find some way. So I guess in the perfect world is you get a left-handed defenseman that can give you some offensive skill at the same time. Would be
they're just laying
the
around.
Perfect play. Yeah. They're everywhere, and they're cheap too. That's the great thing about them. They don't cost a dime.
Yeah, so, and that's the issue, right? With Brisebois right now, he doesn't have any first round picks he can really deal.
Don't have any second round picks he can deal either. Remember all those with the Tanner Jeannot.
That's right.
He's got really, you've got one major ass arm system, a guy named Isaac Howard, and you just don't have enough skill depth in the farm systems to give that guy up, in my opinion.
Right.
Like you just don't have a lot. They've actually, as we've seen, they've done a pretty good job at restocking young defensemen, but you just lack, you lack a lot of goal scorers. And guys like Alex Barré-Boulet, they've been begging this guy to get some goals this year, to just to show that he's more than a really, really good AHL player, and he just can't do it. They've brought up different guys. They're playing Koepka tonight. They're trying to find, can anybody down in Syracuse that can score goals in the AHL, can it translate? Can they get these guys to score some National Hockey League goals?
Hey, Corey, the other part is we're talking about them bringing in somebody, and you had Cooper the other night say that they just didn't play with emotion. They were kind of flat. I think that's absolutely 100% true. We've seen that. And is it the fact that maybe you don't have a Pat Maroon or Corey Perry or Yanni Gourde back in the day that can bring that type of energy and whatever that fire is that they seem to be lacking? Is that something that they can go find on the open market, or something that they have from within this team that needs to get started?
I think, they've tried to bring in those energy boosts in different ways. I think they're hoping Koepka can give them one tonight. I think you looked at some of the young defensemen. When Lilleberg came up, he definitely gave it to him. When Maxwell Crozier came up, he certainly gave it to him for a short period of time. So I think they're hoping that, that they keep kind of bringing, they keep bringing in kids from Syracuse, bring them up, bring them down, that they're going to give you that quick immediate boost.
Right.
I think they're, maybe lacking somebody that helps them kind of reset and refocus.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where, the Pat Maroon type of presence came in, is that, that reset and refocus type of player that hasn't been there. And I'm really, I really think I don't want to say expected more. I mean, I guess they expected more because he has one goal. But I think they were hoping Connor Sheary would kind of be that person. And he's been out on the ice, and he's, you know, when he's been healthy, he's just fine. He just hadn't produced, and it's unfortunate that, you know, you seem to catch this guy at a time when he just can't score anymore, and he just doesn't really seems to be so fighting his game right now. And when you're fighting your own game, it's difficult to really go out there and get everybody else's ass in gear. So, it's curious to see what they're going to be looking for in a trade at the deadline, because we've mentioned, 4 or 5 things that they need, and there's probably isn't one person that can get it all for them. True. So there has to be a level of importance. So what is the most important thing now to get them in the playoffs and get them in a competitive spot? Because as you see, the other teams in the Atlantic are they're playing a little, they're starting to heat up a little bit, and they've got a little bit more flexibility to make moves than the Lightning do. Even though the Lightning got some money right now, it's still, that money came at the cost of losing a great defenseman. So it's it's a lot to look at right now. It starts with tonight. Tonight you got a team that is the only reason the Capitals are on ice is to get Alex Ovechkin goals. Like, that's the only thing they care about. Like, they win or whatever.
Break Gretzky's record.
If he gets a hat trick and they lose 12-3, it's a win as far as they're concerned. So whatever.
Well, let's make that happen tonight. That'll be just fine. I'd like to see a breakout game. And this the way this team has been playing, coming out of the break and going into the break was fine. They did, as Cooper said yesterday, the 20 games were fine. It's okay. But when that stuff creeps in the last 2, that's what gives you, the giving up the odd man rushes, not playing flat, playing with no emotion in a time where you've got to get it going. So I think there's no question there is some reason for concern that hopefully they can turn it around tonight. I want to ask you a little bit about the 12-team playoff. The format came out yesterday. Your thoughts? Good, bad, indifferent? What do you think?
I guess it's a start. College football is so secretive. It's like, all right, we know right? The top 4 teams, the top highest ranked powerful conference champions. I guess you put your G5 person in there. They get the top 4 get a bye. The 5th one, it doesn't matter where you're ranked. You can be anywhere from 5th to 12, and it's just like, I guess the 7 at large are based solely on the committee rankings.
Yeah.
Like, and again, here's the problem: they won't tell you how they determine those. Right. Like college basketball, they spell all that stuff out for you. You got these different quadrants of victory. Like, they tell you exactly what they are looking at. Here, we know what we're looking at. We just can't tell you. So
if you lose your quarterback,
you lose your quarterback, it doesn't work out for you.
Yeah.
We just have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
But so you already look at it and you say, okay, there's 12 teams. How much real estate is the SEC and the Big Ten going to take up? And you figure it's going to take up at least 8 teams. You just feel that way. So it's like now that leaves you 3 conference champions and basically 1 at-large spot for everybody else. It's just the rankings, the way they rank teams just does not make sense. And I'm going to use an example.
Right.
I'm going to use the 2023 Tennessee Volunteers. Okay. They went 9-4. Perfectly fine season. They had 1 victory over a ranked opponent, and that was against Iowa in their bowl game. and here's what doesn't make sense. They lost 4 games, 3 of them to ranked teams, all by double digits. They were ranked 13th going into November 11th playing Missouri. They lost by 29 points.
Yeah.
They dropped to number 18.
Yeah.
Then they played number 1 Georgia, lost by 28 points. They dropped to number 21.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you still ranked?
Because they're in the SEC.
You just lost 2 games by a combined amount of 60 points, and you dropped 8 spots?
Yeah.
And you still had nerve to be ranked at the end of the season?
If that team was in the ACC, they would have been ranked after the first loss. Out. You're gone.
Yeah, they'd have ended up playing in the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl or something. Right. It just would have been ridiculous. It's not so. there, I was not surprised. It didn't happen. I mean, it didn't happen publicly because we can't hear any of these things. But
right.
I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC and the Big Ten basically demanded that they're guaranteed some playoff spots.
Well,
that's what
Brett McMurphy tweeted this out yesterday. He talked to the Oregon State athletic director who was in the meeting, and he said that the SEC wanted 4 automatic bids, and they weren't the only conference that wanted. So the SEC and the Big Ten wanted them put forward a proposal that the SEC and the Big Ten would get 4 automatic bids. Yeah, and first of all, ESPN owns the College Football Playoff Committee, as we've seen. So they're going to get those anyway, whether you codify it or not.
Yeah. So they're getting what they want. And that's why right away out of that meeting, you heard somebody say, we're probably headed to 14 teams in 2026.
Exactly.
So, and I think the Big Ten commissioner wanted 16 right out the gate. So already it's junk is what it is. Already, it's junk. That's the best way to describe it. It's junk by a bunch of people who just have no standards for anything. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know how the bread's being made because they don't know how the bread's being made. It just depends from day to day. So that's really what I think about. I think it's junk.
I agree.
And it's another black feather in a sport that that's begging to die. Like college football is begging somebody to kill it. It is just pleading for somebody to kill it.
Yeah, that's too much of a golden goose, though.
It's begging for somebody to save it as well. I could put it that way.
I don't know that it.
Well, I mean, I was just going to ask because Nick Saban had some pretty good comments yesterday, and a lot of people think he should be, maybe the czar of college football. I mean, how does Corey Long view that? You think?
I would love for Nick Saban to be the czar. I think as college football coaches go, especially from that era, Nick seems to be the one that gets it the most. His whole thing is people said, oh, he didn't like the NIL, he didn't like the portal. I don't think it wasn't that he didn't like them. I think it's that he just wanted to know what rules he was playing by. If you can't tell him what rules he's playing by, he can't figure – he's one of those guys that needs to be prepared for everything. And I think he was just sick of there's just no jurisdiction here. And I can't figure out what the hell is going on without that. And, that's why he left. That's why there's certain coaches that can't deal with it. Like Urban Meyer can't deal with NIL. Like he would die. Like the fact that he has to be accountable to a player would just kill him. He just doesn't think he has to be accountable to anybody. But Nick Saban, I'd love to see him because I feel like at least he would demand some structure. And right now they just want to wing it.
True. But there's got to be, at some point, something's got to happen. I don't know if Congress is going to make him do it because with all these different media rights deals, it's hard. It would be hard to pull it all together under one umbrella. And the rich schools don't want to give up the money. So, to spread it out, then that's something that would be needed if you're going to include all, maybe 90 to 96 teams in 4 super conferences, however you're going to do it. So it's going to be hard. Somebody's going to have to force them to do it. And I don't know if there's an entity that will do that. So,
I don't know. Right now, everybody's in business for themselves. And it's just going to be hard to break them out of that. It's going to be hard to break them out of that mold, out of that mindset.
Yeah. Well, it also looks like FSU is going to get out of the ACC. They're going to, at least the reports on Friday are there's going to be a negotiation to get them, allow them out, probably somewhere in the $60 to $100 million exit fee range, which means they're headed somewhere. And I think the rest of the ACC schools are going to follow. How do you think that thing's going to shake out? Where's FSU headed?
I always thought they were heading to the Big Ten till more recently, but I think I think if this exit goes like it is, it's just going to be open season, and you're going to be in essence you're going to probably even have the Big 12 trying to pick off 1 or 2 teams. So so I would say right now I think the Southeastern Conference seems like at the end of the day, I don't think that conference wants to give up the Florida real estate to the Big Ten. I think they're okay giving up I think they're okay sharing other areas, but I don't think they want to give up the state of Florida, that real estate there. I don't think they really want to give that up to the Big Ten. I think they understand how important that state is as part of their recruiting footprint to give it up to, to give up a major program to the Big Ten. I just don't think they want to do
Interesting. That. I thought that they just bring so much more to the Big Ten, and FSU, I don't think wants. I think if FSU was smart, they don't want to be in the SEC. I think it's.
They don't want to be in the. I mean, I don't think they're, especially going in like say next year. I don't think they're ready for it. I don't think they're ready for it as a program. But I also think when I look at it beyond football, it really boosts up their other sports incredibly. You talk about baseball, softball, even basketball, women's basketball. Like, it just really boosts up their athletic profile. So, and it just becomes so much more easier for them to have the games that they want to have, the games that are going to draw the big crowds in those other sports. And, the travel, and it's just the convenience of it. I just think overall, obviously from a regional standpoint, it just works out so much better. And when you go past football, I think it really does amazing things for their other sports in terms of just being able to put butts in the seats and draw money as they can.
Yeah, I think that's true. All right, partner, always fun to chat with you. I will see you tonight at Amalie Arena for the
absolutely
Caps and
we
Bulls.
might have to one of us might have to put on some skates if these guys don't get in the gear. It ain't gonna be me. So you better be. I've seen you skate. I've actually seen you skate before, so you got a better shot than I do.
No, and not a chance in the world. Not a chance. I will bring more emotion though. I will definitely. I won't be
all
flat.
right. There you go.
I won't be flat. Yeah. I'll get my ass kicked and knocked down. I won't be able to do it, but I'll be pissed off about it. For sure.
All right, there we
Thanks,
go.
man.
There we
Appreciate it, Corey. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
All right, you take care.
Get him on the X machine at Corey Long, CoreyLong. Great follow there for all things football and lightning. All right. I just saw this come across the wire. This is incredible. Amazon's going to pay $150 million to stream one NFL playoff game next year.
Mm-hmm.
One NFL playoff game is worth $150 million in streaming rights.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I guess what the Peacock game said they had 23 million people.
Yeah, it was the most streamed live event of all time in the United States.
23 million. And
they paid $110 million for that.
Yeah. So I guess if you can garner an average audience of 23 million people, or for Amazon, they've got a lot more Prime members.
You know what's funny too is You know what's funny is Amazon actually was offered the playoff game this year first, and they turned it down, and that's when NBC
at 110 million.
Yeah, and that's when NBC Universal stepped up, and they paid the 110. They broadcasted the game, and then all of a sudden now Amazon gets into it. And now they're paying, obviously a lot more. And, yeah, you mentioned the Amazon, I think, has 180 million, because I wrote about this for On3, 180 million subscribers, Amazon does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as opposed to Peacock, which in 2023, at the end of 2023, they reported 31 million.
So there's 180 million Prime subscribers?
Right.
Wow.
In the United States alone. And then in Peacock, it's 31 million.
Holy shiz.
Of course, Prime's a little bit more expensive than Peacock, but still, everybody's got Prime, it feels like.
Well, you get Prime with the Prime membership. Just
right. You don't even have to be someone that's like watching their stuff. If you just do it to order a bunch of stuff, you end up getting everything. So it's a really good deal.
Huh. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people, though, and that's the NFL delivers large audiences like no other, and that's. I mean, look at the freaking the Super Bowl was a freaking beast of a ratings number. 124 million people.
Well, the total was over 200 million.
Yeah.
You look at the total number, I'd be touting that out of just how many eyeballs ended up getting onto the Super Bowl total. Over 200 million. I mean, Is this going to happen like every year now? That every Super Bowl is just going to continue to break its own record? Because they broke their own average viewership record by 8 million this year. And it was from last year's Super Bowl.
The Taylor effect. The Taylor effect.
I guess so.
I guess so. All right. I don't know if I mentioned this. Justin Thomas committed to the Valspar. So they've got, I think, one of their best fields ever coming up. Yeah, really, really good quality field. So get your tickets for that. The Cole Swindell Saturday night piece. You don't want to miss that as well. That's going to be super fun. I got a wedding, and that's also the same night as Jason Aldean at the Bruce Arians event as well. So
it's a very events coming up.
That's a packed event right there. But the Valspar is going to be fantastic. Absolutely great field, great event. Once again, make sure you get your tickets for that. All right, that'll do it for us here today. Great job, Nick Geddes. Appreciate you. Please remember to like and subscribe to our Apple and Spotify, wherever you get podcasts. And you can always listen to this show as a podcast if you want to listen to it later on. And we're live on the Strike 102.5 HD2. That's the Bones HD channel. So check that out. A lot of great content there. Greg Linnelli and Dave Mishkin every day live right after us from 12 to 1 with Lightning Power Lunch. Have a great day, everybody. Go Bolts. We'll talk to you tomorrow.